Well, here we are. We're in a little spot called Taupo Bay, a magnificent bay. It sweeps away around to a point, probably 2 or 3 k's away. A beautiful beach, lovely spot. I've been here a couple of times and it hasn't been good in the past, but it's glorious today. It's a real privilege to be in a place like this, I find. There's the painting I've done, and what I want to do is show you how I go about working outdoors and how that painting's come into being. Some of the things we're going to look at in this painting, because it's an atmosphere painting, very atmospheric place when we arrived, things like distance, how you convey distance on the canvas. You're trying to turn 3 dimensions into something that's convincing on a flat surface. So how do you do that? Well, we'll talk about that and you'll see me doing it. How do you give a sense of perspective that leads people in? The tonal work. Why do I start with the darks and end up with the lights? These are all points that you need to learn as you go along. Sometimes as the camera goes to the palette, you'll see I'm mixing colours several times to get it right and to try and match the light and shade that's here. And that's an art in itself, because the light is so crucial to a painting, but it can be difficult. It moves all the time, and so how do you get ahead of that? How do you deal with these things? These are all the sort of things I'll be trying to teach you. You've got to realise that it's not always easy, so I want to teach you all sorts of things as we go along and hope that it'll be a help in your work. So let's get started. Now, one of the things I've found over the years is I don't like it if the paint doesn't flow easily, and a lot of the whites you buy tend to be quite thick, and I have said on occasion that I love Winsor & Newton because the thickness of their paints is very consistent, but I have found on occasion that the white tends to get a bit thick, and so I just, as you can see, I'm just working into it some of my medium Winsor & Newton Liquin Original, and you can see I've got quite a mound of paint there. Actually, it's a bit more than I intended. Look at it. But it will keep. Now, in this particular view, I love the foreground. So I'm going to make the most of this little stream running out and the rocks in the foreground. I'm going to simplify the rocks a bit. There's too many of them. You don't want to confuse the eye by having everything that's there. So I'm going to go for a high horizon, probably about there. And almost invariably, you want to try and give a slightly greater sense of distance than there really is. So I'll work a bit more light into those shadows as they start to go away from me, and a little bit more blue. It just helps to push them back a bit. Oop, not enough. As you can see, that's still pretty dark. That's better. You see how with a light touch, it's very, very easy to overpaint without making mud. If you layer on too much paint in one go, or if you push too hard with the brushes, you begin to mix the colour rather than lay on top. And if that happens, then you can get into trouble because the colours start to become dirty, because you're mixing too many colours together all at the same time. But if you lay it on lightly, as you can see I'm doing, then you don't end up with mud, you hope. Now I better get that cliff in because it's a beautiful shape and it's a nice tone right now. Now that's the way I can put in those lights over the top without any problem, because my paint isn't all plastered on real thick yet. It will get thicker, and there are some lumps, but it's not plastered in paint. And I'll knock that back slightly in there. But you see I can add highlights quite easily without disturbing the paint underneath. There's a little shelf comes through the rock there, which is quite nice. It's getting a wee bit dark, that area. I'll bring that colour sand down into here. Just getting a wee bit dark. Want to keep the light up in there, and I've let that tone get just a wee bit deep. Well, there we go, folks. Hot day, quite a long day. It took a while to do that painting, but there's the outcome. Oh, are we doing the intro or the outro?
Outro.
Yeah. Oh, right. You can cut this bit out. It relies on the shape of the foam, the shapes of the various colours and tones, as well as those cliffs running away towards my focal point, which of course is that interesting looking rock out in the distance and the surf bursting around it. Fantastic place, fantastic subject. I had to do this one. I wanted to do it extra big. So I went and took photos and did it from the photos rather than try and carry gear down a very long steep track. Now this is the last painting, and I wanted to do something with a bit of bang to it. I really like this. I've admired this mountain for many years. Mount Talbot down in the Milford Sound area. Almost at the head of the valley, and you actually drive under that mountain through that gap at the back there. It was a very large painting I wanted to do, done from an outside smaller work, and I think it ended up at about 1750, 1.75 metres long. So it's a big picture, and my wife says she wants to keep it. Notice I've used shadows, lights and shades to draw you in up that valley and up to my main point, which is of course the top of Talbot. As you may have noticed, my favourites probably are mountains and the sea. I enjoy getting out there amongst the mountains or on the coast, doesn't matter. I sort of feel that they are perhaps the epitome of the creation around us, and so I enjoy painting them, and I worked on that one. Well, in fact, I repainted it 3 times until I felt that I had caught its light and shade, its bulk, its distance, all those qualities that get me excited. Now, at this point, I've said enough, and it's time for us to head for the beach and Taupo Bay. Look at it, it's magnificent having this around us. So all the very best, and till the next time.